All right, greetings everybody, and welcome to Conflict Radio. Today is October 21st, 2021, and I've got some weird pop-up that just popped up on my screen, so I'm going to figure out how to get rid of that. There we go. All right, so we are 21 days into what should be a red October. What do you guys think? It hasn't been... I don't really see much going on. I mean, maybe it's just me. I don't know. Anyway... whatever. I suppose whatever happens will happen, right? Right, guys? We're ready. So let me give a shout out here to everybody that's hanging out with us. Antonio has been in here for a long time. I see Chuck Bam's in the house. Ian, myself, the Happy Plague Doctor is here. Chili Peen, how you doing? Davy Jones Locker is here. Sick Tut. Alice Star, how are you doing today? They say hello. Hello to you. Sapphire Elf is here. How you doing, Sapphire? In the land down under there. I hope, we're watching you guys in Australia. In Australia, holy crap! Hugh Godarn is here. How you doing, Hugh? I see. Not quite human. Paul, how you doing today, man? Great to see you here. Let's see. Ride the Typhoon is here. Jersey Dolphins. Hey, Jersey Dolphins. How you doing? One of my oldest listeners. We go back years and years and years. Blue Chicken is here. Mary Kay. I see. I guess that's everybody that's here so far. Well, at least everybody that's typing in. We got an interesting guest today. We're going to talk to John Russell. And he has been an internationally known professional psychic for almost half a century, working with clients around the world. He also has been a featured guest on many popular radio shows and recently filmed a TV pilot for the History Channel in which he physically explored the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. He's also been an avid motorcyclist for over 50 years. When he's not chasing ghosts on his bike around the country, he enjoys reading, painting, making photographs, gardening, target shooting, and fancies himself a fair chess player. John, welcome to Conflict Radio. How are you today?
Hey, Michael, I'm doing great. I really, really appreciate you having me. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Man, we've had some awesome guests on the show, but I got a feeling this is going to be a real fun show. Now, it says you're a motorcyclist. Do you have a Harley?
No, I have a Honda VTX 1300C, and I've been riding since I was about 15. And on this current bike, on this bike alone, I have almost 114,000 miles. So, serious rider.
Man, that's all over. How many states have you not been to?
Well, there's some, but I'm hopefully I'll work on taking those off if I get the time. I'm so busy now that I'm just hammered all the time, barely have time to do anything. But hopefully things loosen up.
Back out on the bike. You're hammered all the time, you said? Well, you're a steady drinker?
Oh, well, that too.
Hammered all the time. That sounds like all of us.
There you go.
Hey, so, there's one state that I haven't been to, and that's Alaska. I've been to every other state in the country except for Alaska. Oh, wow. So that's one day I'm going to go up there, and, man, I'm going to have a good time. I plan on maybe getting up there and renting some kind of camper or something and traveling around for a couple months. So hopefully I get to do that one day before I pass
there you go.
on.
Sounds good.
That way I could say, what is it? The 50 State Club, right?
Right.
I think that's actually a thing.
I think it is. Yeah.
All right. So I see Vash Wolfwood is here. How you doing, Vash? He says hi, all. So you're a psychic.
Yes.
You gotta tell us here. When did you first have any kind of idea that you were a psychic?
Okay, that's a good story. This is going to be really interesting for everybody. When I was 5 years old, I was in my bed, sound asleep, middle of the night, and my parents had a night light that they left on in the hallway in case I had to get up and go to the bathroom during the night or whatever. And I woke up all of a sudden completely, totally wide awake. And I thought, well, this is really weird. Just bam, all of a sudden I'm just totally, completely conscious, totally, completely aware. And I was listening to see if maybe a noise had woken me or something, if there would be a repeat noise or something, but it was totally quiet. And I raised up on my elbows in bed, just kind of looked around my room. And as I looked out, my bedroom door was open. And as I looked out my open bedroom door down the hallway, around one of the door frames in the hallway this old black gentleman was peeking around that door frame and staring into my bedroom looking at me. And I screamed bloody murder. And mostly it was because my family was white. We didn't have anybody black living with us. I don't think we even knew anybody black. But it wasn't really the fact that he was black. It was just the fact that, hey, we don't have anybody black living with us, and here's somebody in the house. My 5-year-old brain says, intruder, somebody's broken in. So I'm screaming bloody murder. And as I scream, this elderly black gentleman walks around the door frame into the hallway, walks down the hallway towards my bedroom, locking eyes with me. And I'm like, oh my God. And he is every bit as solid as you or I, Michael. I mean, he's not translucent. He's not transparent. He's not wispy. He's just a solid, physical human being, just like you or I. He had short cropped white hair, a white mustache, wore a red flannel shirt, khaki pants, black belt, black shoes. And as he got closer to me, I screamed again. My parents started to come running, and as they did, then he began to vanish. He began to vanish, get transparent, get translucent, get transparent, and then vanished and was gone by the time my parents got there. So I'm like, somebody's in the house, somebody's broken in. And they were like, no, you just had a bad dream. You just saw something on TV and it gave you a nightmare. There's nobody here. And I said, no, there's somebody in this house, even though I'd just seen him vanish. And my fright was so real and I was so convincing that my dad actually checked all the doors and windows, looked in all the closets in the house, even looked under all the beds in the house. And of course, everything was locked up tight. There was nobody there. And they just kept trying to tell me it was a bad dream. And I knew better. I realized that I had seen my first ghost. And what he did was come to open up the portal. And I figured this out in a few weeks' time afterward. He came to open up the portal to what has now been way over 1,000 physical paranormal manifestations I've experienced, which has taught me a lot about the other side, enabled me to help others learn about the other side. And when I say physical manifestations, these are not things that I dream or meditate or envision or hallucinate. These are things that actually occur on the physical realm. A lot of times they're witnessed by other people. We've caught them on film, we've caught them on audio, we've caught them on video. So real manifestations. And like I say, it was, he was like a guide, I guess, that came to open up that portal for me and to activate this gift. And then several weeks later, the way I found out that my psychic gift had become activated was I was out in the backyard playing, and this car pulled in the driveway, people I didn't recognize. So I run the house and I go, Mom, Dad, there's somebody in the driveway. I don't know who they are. So they come out to look. I go, oh, these are friends of ours. I say, okay. So they walk out to the driveway, and the people get out of the car and they're standing there talking. And so I'm goofing around, and I come over there and just kind of stand and look at everybody for a little bit. And I go, you people just went on vacation. And I said, you took that car that's sitting in the driveway and you took 2 kids with you. You don't have kids with you today, but you have 2 kids and you took them with you on vacation. And you went to this hotel that looked like this, had this many stories and looked like this, and had trees in front that looked like this. And then the pool area looked like this in the back. And the woman's husband kind of had this weird little grin on his face, looking at my parents like, what's going on? And the woman, I will never forget, her eyes literally bugged out of her head. Her jaw was agape. And she kept looking at me and looking at my parents. And she said, how the hell could he possibly know this? And my parents kind of looked at each other. And she said, how the hell could John possibly know that? And my mother said something like, oh, you know, kids and their imagination, all the stuff they come up with. And she goes, no, this is not kids' imagination. She said, we just went on vacation. We took that car. We took our 2 kids. The hotel we stayed at is exactly like John described. How the hell could he possibly know that? That's what we come over to tell you was about this vacation. And my parents basically kind of stammered and muttered a little bit and said, John, go play. And I said, yes, nice to meet you folks. And off I went. And I guess I scared them so bad, they never came to visit my parents again. So that was when I discovered that I had this psychic gift that I could see into people's lives. I could tell where they had been. I began to be able to predict the future for people accurately and to tell what was coming for them, and to have insights into their emotions, their thoughts, their lives, their circumstances, and so on and so forth. So that was around the age of 6. It happened shortly after the awakening, and it's been a great life ever since. I've been a professional psychic for 50 years now. I've read for people in over 40 countries. It's just been a magnificent, marvelous time full of great, wonderful experiences, and I've been able to help a lot of people.
You know, it's amazing how they get us when we're young, right? You have to, it seems like I guess it's best to get to have that first experience when you're younger. I know I haven't
Yeah.
ever had an experience like that, but if I did, I would imagine if that were to happen to me now, I'd wind up puttying up a bunch of holes in my wall where the dude was standing. You know, I think that I think
Well, it is good that they get us young, because then we haven't gone through all the negativity that society and friends and family heap on us. Oh, you don't have an invisible friend. There's nobody there. Quit lying. No, nothing disappeared from your table or whatever. Don't make up stories and all this kind of stuff. So, when we're younger, we don't have that resistance to interaction with the other side, and we haven't yet been exposed to that denigration and that being made fun of and everything that people do to us, that eventually forces us to kind of shut down if we want to live in quote unquote normal society. So it is good to have those experiences early, and I know people that have had them late in life have come to me. Like, what comes to mind is that clients will call me, and I'm using their words now, and they will literally say, "You're my last hope before I go check myself into the nut house." And I'm like, why? What's going on? And they will have had some physical paranormal manifestation, and they're convinced that they're crazy. They're convinced that they've gone nuts or whatever. And I'm able to tell them, no, this is the proof, the reality of the other side. You're having a legitimate paranormal or psychic experience. Here's what you learn from it. Here's how you handle it. Here's what you do from here on out. And it can make a very positive difference in their lives. But like you say, it's a whole lot easier earlier. And when it comes late, then you already have all this baggage of religion, dogma, tradition, ritual, people telling you that's not possible, it doesn't happen, that's not real, that's fake, or whatever. So you have all that immense baggage that all of a sudden you have to shed. And you've carried that all these years, and that's what you're comfortable with, and that's what you've lived with. Now all that's got to go out the window, because bam, here it is.
Yeah, well, do you think that the world is gearing up for something like that to happen anyway? I mean, everybody, like, they say the Great Awakening, right? I mean, is that,
Yeah,
do you
the
think that
problem with
that's
that
coming?
is, Michael, that they've been talking about the Great Awakening forever and a day. And
Yeah, that's
we
true.
always go through this thing of, the age of Aquarius, the Great Awakening, the great understanding, the great compassion, or whatever, this, that, and the other. And it doesn't happen. We're the same old jerks we've always been. The world's in a very sad state if you just read the news. And, these things always are going about, some great awakening or some great happening or whatever. And it hasn't happened in the past, and it hadn't happened now. And I don't think it's going to happen in the future, to be honest. Things pretty much go along as they do. And what is up to us is to gain all the enlightenment that we can, walk in spiritual life and light the best that we can, and then try and help others and work for the good. And in spite of all that, we're still going to have all of these problems, all of this evil, all these problems, conflicts, wars, diseases, everything else. But that's part and parcel of this planet. This planet is a very difficult place to live. And we have to make the most out of that, and we have to do the best that we can for ourselves and for others, and to come together and try and make these positive changes. And that goes through every generation. Every generation experiences that. But as far as any great awakening or any great hope or any great enlightenment, no, there's been people that have predicted that in different religions, spiritual things, psychics, so on and so forth, for eons. And it's not happened. It's a pipe dream. It just doesn't happen, and I don't think it's going to.
All right, let me give a shout out to everybody. I see Wendy's just joined us. Everybody's starting to jump in. Hit that like button, everyone. It does help get some people in here. We're going to do open lines in about 40 minutes. And John said he's going to do little mini readings for you guys. So if you want to call in and have a little mini reading, just kind of hang on and we'll get there. And then I'll release the phone number so you guys can call in and get your little reading going. Remember, you can always look me up on Skype. Just go to Skype and look for Conflict Radio. If you can add me now, if you want to call in, just send me a wave or something. I have to accept it, and then you can call in during the show. So you've got 45 minutes to do that, to get Skype on your phone, and then just search for Conflict Radio. You can find me that way. John, you mentioned that there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. I mean, you had to have looked at this for sheer curiosity. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. This cargo container thing off our coast has got me a little freaked out because my wife had sent me something. It was like a video of these missile systems that are hidden in cargo containers.
Right.
And then it goes right to all of these ships sitting off of our coast, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ships sitting off our coast, like not able to port. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what if those are all, I mean, they could easily be missile launchers. And then you got China wanting to go into Taiwan. Could you imagine if China hit Taiwan, like, okay, well, do something, America, and we do something, and next thing we know, we've got all these cargo ships opening up their little containers, launching at us from all different directions, right off our coast. I mean, that's scary. What have you looked at that at all, or this situation at all?
You know, I tell you, Michael, I have looked at the world situation for quite some time now, and I have seen the things that people used to make fun of people as a conspiracy theorist about come to pass and come to happen and come to fruition. And I have seen things that convince me that behind the scenes, as there always has been, I mean, all you got to do is read history as far back as you can go, and there's always people in power with money that control what goes on. And a modern day example of that quickly springs to mind, I grew up in West Texas, and of course in Texas, the Hunt brothers, and the Hunt brothers tried to corner the silver market, and you know how all that played out. So behind the scenes, there has always been rich and powerful people working for their good. It's not for your good, and it's not for my good, and it's not for society's good at large. It's so that they have more power and more money, and it's a game that they seem very sickly addicted to. It's never enough power. It's never enough money. It's never enough things. It's never enough possessions. It's never enough control. And part of that goes back to human nature. I tell people, I say, look, if you take 10 people and you put them all in a room together, and all those 10 people are healthy, they have access to everything they need, they all have a home, they all have a car, they all have a job they enjoy, they all have plenty of money, they can vacation whenever they want to, they can eat whatever they want to, if they need new furniture they can buy it, whatever, they're well taken care of. Nobody has any real serious need, and yet one person out of those 10 is going to sit there and study those other 9 and go, now how can I get control of these people and get what they've got and get them subjugated to me? There's just some flaw in our human nature. And when that flaw finds its way into this vein of money and power and favor and everything else, we don't become magnanimous and giving and charitable. We just get worse. That flaw just magnifies itself. And so you look at everything that's going on in the world today, and it's just an example of what has always been there. And now we've got the internet and better news sources and this, that, and the other, where we can find out about it more readily, more easily, and where we can get more accurate information on what's going on about things. But yeah, it is very, very concerning, the state of the world nowadays. We're going through a time frame where we seem to be verging on this, I won't quite say a one world government control order yet, but it looks like it's really kind of pushing there. And I don't know if that would ever really happen because of the ego and the greed of people involved, because people are always are going to go, no, I don't want to go that way. That's not going to make me the amount of money I want. Or no, if I throw in with him or them, then I lose part of my control, and I'm going to keep all that control. An example of that is if you haven't watched Jamie Johnson's documentaries, look them up. Jamie Johnson is the son of Johnson & Johnson Pharmaceuticals. And he asked his dad one day, he said, and I'm just kind of scatting here, but basically what it was, how come I can do anything I want to do, and yet there's people living in cardboard boxes on the street? He said, that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem fair. And so he made these documentaries and pissed off everybody in his family and all the associates and everything else. But he was examining the ultra rich, the ultra wealthy, and how much they control and how much they do behind the scenes and what it does to us. It doesn't help us. And one of the things that stuck out in my mind during one of these documentaries, which falls in line with what I've been talking about, and the control issue and the greed issue, is there's a guy that gives the ultra wealthy this seminar once a year. And the ultra wealthy come from all over the world to this seminar. And bottom line is basically what the seminar is, here's how to keep all your wealth. Don't let any government touch it. Don't let any taxes touch it. Keep the charities out of it. Keep everybody else away from it, and increase more and more and more, and make sure it stays within your family. And that's the seminar. Just get more and more and more and more, and make sure nobody can touch it. Make sure that it's not taxed. Make sure that it's just yours. And so that's the greed and the mindset behind this thing. And like I said, if you haven't watched Jamie Johnson's documentaries, I think they may be available on YouTube, but look them up and watch them very thoughtfully and very carefully, because they are really, really worth watching, and they really give you an insight into the mindset of the wealth and power brokers in this world, and those that try and make the decisions for all of us and control all of us, like is happening now with certain pharmaceutical issues and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's these are definitely weird times, and
Oh yeah.
I guess we try to think positively, the Patriots have got this all under control and trust the plan and that sort of thing. But honestly, what if that whole thing is a psyop, just to keep us sitting around doing nothing, waiting for this big plan to unfold?
Well, not only that, but we always put our trust in, well, the Patriots have this. We are the Patriots.
Yeah.
We are the Patriots. There's not some guy or group of guys out there that's going to save us all. We are the people that is going to save us all. And so we can't say, well, the Patriots.
Are you there, or did I lose you?
I'm here.
All right, there you go. Now you're back now.
Yeah, we all have to band together and realize we are the Patriots, and we have to decide what we're going to do about this thing. And we have to actively and actually do something that's meaningful and productive and turns this thing around. It's up to us. The power to the people. We are the power. The people are the power. We have that, and we just don't recognize it. And when we unite, when we raise up and we recognize that we have the power, we are the power, we can enforce the change, that's when some good things are going to happen.
Yeah, I think the best thing we can do is quite frankly stop spending money.
Yeah.
We need to stop spending money. We need to pack up our houses with stuff we think we need, and I guess just be ready for anything. So let's talk a little bit about some of your trips. I'd like to get into some really cool ghost stories coming into the Halloween.
Sure.
What's your scariest experience you've had out on the road?
Well, I honestly have to say that ever since the old black ghost, I have never been scared by anything that's happened again. And all these well over 1,000 experiences, I've been startled, but I've never been scared. I've never had anything that really frightened me. But I did have a little bit of a mud check one time. I used to ride 200, 300, 400, sometimes 500 miles in a day. Now that's while I'm reading full time for my worldwide clientele I was on radio at the time and so on and so forth. So I would carve out this time to ride and every now and then take a day off and get in all of the mileage I could. So I had taken a nice ride and I was coming back home. And I stopped at a rest stop on I-95 South. And there was a storm coming in from the north and it was moving really, really slowly. And I said, well, I'm going to have plenty of time to stop and relieve myself, get me a soda and maybe a snack and sit here a little bit and take a break and then get back on the road. So as I'm sitting there, the storm, part of it kind of snakes off around to the west, but there's still blue skies and sunshine where I'm at. And I can see it over there kind of moving around, but it still doesn't look like a big deal. And the bulk of the storm is still north. So I'm like, I'm okay. The wind starts getting up a little bit. Now listen, I have ridden in rain, hail, sleet, snow, ice, super high winds, all kinds of things. So I've ridden the gamut as a biker. So I'm not worried about this wind. And then, so I get on the bike, I finish my snack and everything, get on the bike, get on the access road to get back on the I-95. And as I'm getting on, the wind all of a sudden becomes so strong that I'm super fighting the bike to keep from literally drifting over into the lane next to me. And all of a sudden the cars on 95, which is a miracle in itself for this to happen, all of the cars and trucks are slowing down to like 40, 45, 50 miles an hour because the wind has become so strong and people are fighting their cars and the big trucks are fighting to keep upright and not to blow over and stay in their lane and all this. I'm like, wow, this is getting a little dicey. So as I'm going down here, going down the road, all of a sudden, me and the bike are picked up as one. I'm not lifted up off the saddle. Me and the bike are picked up as one, as if a giant invisible hand has come underneath me and lifted us up. And we're picked up into the air, maybe 6 inches to a foot, and turned around kind of back and forth, and kind of like something's examining us, like looking at us and going, look at this guy, look at his bike, look at this. And I am thinking, okay, if this thing sets me down the way I'm turned now, because now I'm turned counterclockwise and almost sideways, and I'm flying through the air like at 50 miles an hour, right? And I said, if this thing sets me down like this, I'm falling over sideways at 50 miles an hour, probably doing myself in there, and then 10 cars are going to hit me before anybody manages to get stopped. So here I come, guys. I said I always wanted to die on speed of two wheels. Here it is. Wonder what the other side's like. I'm fixing to be there. And all these thoughts are running through my head. And so this turns me back around, sets me down kind of off kilter still. And I use all of my riding expertise to get the bike straightened out, get solid and get to going again. I'm like, holy cow, what a story this is going to make. And I look up, and out of the sky is this funnel cloud coming straight down for me. And I downshift and I wick the bike up and I run hot for like 5 miles. The engine just screaming. And I don't care if there's a cop. I don't care if there's a state trooper. I'm out of there. So I get down the road. And where I'm riding to, it's still blue skies and sunshine. It's still nice. I'm like, holy cow. So I've left the funnel cloud behind. I've left whatever force picked me up and turned me around and looked at me and set me down. And I get to my destination. And I usually don't imbibe on the bike, but this day I thought, well, after that experience, this is probably good to have one. And the destination I went to, I thought was pure genius. It was a bar with a tattoo parlor attached. Now, how much better can you get than that? So I had the tattoo artist was giving a Friday the 13th special. And on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you could get the number 13 tattooed on you for $13. And this was like Thursday, so the day before. But Friday the 13th has always been my lucky day. 13 has been the lucky number for me, so I'm going to get my tattoo. So I go in, the tattoo artist opens up, and I'm telling her my story as I'm sitting there, and she's starting to do the tattoo. And we look out the window, and I go, holy cow, look at that. And the exact same funnel cloud with the exact same shape coming down at the exact same angle from the skies is coming from across the street toward the tattoo parlor where I'm sitting. And she walks over to the window and she goes, looks like it followed you.
Yeah.
Said, yeah, holy cow. So it all of a sudden picks up, goes on over the building, and everything's copacetic. But that was one of the most unnerving. I still wasn't just like super frightened or anything, but it was unnerving. And I was like, holy cow. And the lesson I learned from that was, all of these idiots, I hate these shows where these so-called paranormal investigators and ghost hunters go in these places and they curse the ghost and they challenge the ghost and they do this and they do that. This force has the ability to pick me up in the air with my bike. Me and my bike together are like half a ton, right? And pick me up in the air, turn me around, look at us, go, oh, look at this guy. Hey, look what we could have done to you if we wanted to. And then set me back down. And that's the lesson you learn from that. And the lesson is respect. The other side has tremendous power and tremendous ability. And we should interact with that with respect and with understanding.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of what's that show with the yellow brick road where Dorothy's in the house and she looks
Wizard
out.
of Oz?
Yeah, she looks out the window and sees the witch on her bike in the tornado, right?
Right.
Except it's you on a motorcycle.
Except it's me on a motorcycle.
Did you have,
exactly right.
Do you have a little basket there on it, with a dog in it, I guess?
Well, I've tried to take my dog on it, but the wife won't let me. So,
tell us about your bizarre experience with stars. I'm curious about that.
Oh, I've had some really strange things happen with stars. The first one was when I was very young, and we had friends up in the north part of town, and my mother took me up there to visit one afternoon. And now in West Texas, it's like in the summer, you go outside and it's like trying to breathe, sticking your head in a pizza oven. And the old car we had didn't have air conditioning, so the only time we rolled the windows up was at night when we were done for the day, and then we would lock the car up. But during the day, the windows stayed down because otherwise you couldn't get in the car. You couldn't stand it. So we stopped and parked on the wrong side of the street facing west, or east rather, which would get you a ticket nowadays, but I guess it wasn't a big deal back then. We parked on the wrong side of the street and facing a vacant lot, which was across the street from our friend's home, and full of mesquite trees and cactus and scrub brush and all kinds of stuff. And we went up, visited our friends. They had a boy my age, and we played together. And so come time to leave, it was about the darkest part of twilight. You'd need to put your car headlights on to drive. And we went out, and our friends said goodbye to us, and we got in the car. And of course, the windows were down because it's so hot. And so as my mom starts the car, falling from the sky in slow motion comes this pentagram, this 5-pointed star. Now, we all know stars are round, bulbous, gaseous objects. Our sun is a star, okay? But this is a pentagram, a 5-pointed star, just like you used to draw in grade school for Halloween. And this thing is about the size of the side of a house and looks to be flat and about a foot thick, maybe. And it's falling like in slow motion from the sky, trailing this little phosphorescent yellow trail as it goes, and it's glowing yellow. And it falls down toward the middle of this vacant lot next door. And my mother absolutely freaked out. She's screaming at me, John, get in the back seat, roll up the windows, lock the doors, roll up all the windows, lock the doors, roll up the windows, lock the doors. And I'm like, let's get out and see what this thing is. Man, this is cool. This is one of the best things I've ever seen. So we do that, and she starts to drive off. And I said, if this falls down into this vacant lot, as dry as it is, and it being whatever it is, looks like something fiery, won't it set that lot on fire, and won't our friend's house be in danger, and shouldn't we wait to see what happens before we go? So she says, well, I guess so. So we wait, and it falls down into the lot, and then the glow kind of goes in upon itself, and it winks out, and that's it. And my mother flies out of there, and she won't let me roll the windows down for like a mile, right? And we're sitting there sweating and suffering and everything. I'm like, can I roll the windows down now? No. Can I roll the windows down now? No. I mean, she is just totally panicked. And so finally she lets me roll the windows down. I'm asking her all these questions that she can't answer. And I think I may have made a wish, wish upon a falling star. I think I may have made a wish that night. But that was my very first experience with a star that was really bizarre.
What do you think it was?
Say again?
What do you think it was?
It was just a sign of some type.
And your mother saw it too?
I'm sorry, say again.
You said your mother saw it too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She was the one telling me to roll up the windows and lock the door. She was terrified of it.
Yes. That's
So,
interesting.
my wife tells me it was a sign I was going to be a star someday, and I'm like, well, I'm still waiting. But anyway, so the other
You're a
side,
star,
Jim,
man. You're a guest on Conflict Radio. You're famous
there you
now.
go. I am a star. I made it. I made it. But the other side gives us signs and gives us things that sometimes we don't always immediately understand, and sometimes we never understand. They can just be awakenings. They can just be things that happen that lead us to a different, rung up the ladder in our spiritual development or whatever. And sometimes things are just, hey, we're here. But going back to the stars, there was with my second wife, we had this apartment and a balcony, and I was sitting out on the balcony one night, and there was this star up in the sky, and it would turn red and pulsate every time I waved at it. And so I'd wave at it and it'd turn red and pulsate, and I'd wave at it and it'd turn red and pulsate. So my wife came out of the balcony and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Watch this." I said, "See that star right there?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Watch this." And I waved at it, turned red and pulsated. I waved at it, turned red and pulsated. She goes, "I don't want to know." She went back inside and that was it. So something's up there, somebody's up there, something's happening up there with all that stuff. And then one night after a ride, and this is in my book, Riding with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead, I wrote about this when I came in from a long ride with a lot of paranormal experiences that happened that day. I was sitting out on the lanai at night and looking at the stars. It was a beautiful, clear night. And all of a sudden, this one star like accelerates down toward me from out of the sky and splits in two and stops. And it's like, my God, there's two eyes staring at me. That's what this thing is. There's two eyes looking at me. And I look around at everything else to see if I'm suddenly had a stroke, seeing double or whatever, but no, everything else is perfectly crystal clear, single and fine. Look back up, there's those two stars staring at me. And then after a little bit, they rejoined as one and shot back up into the heavens where they were at before, where it was before. And I was like, okay, so whatever that's out there that has communicated with me this day, and like I say, there's a lot of stories in that chapter in that book. Whatever's out there that has communicated with me that day has made one final grand demonstration of, hey, we know you, we see you, we're interacting with you, we know where you're at, we know what you're doing, we have that ability. So there's a lot of things going on in the heavens that we need to understand, appreciate, look at, explore further. There's a lot of communication that comes from there.
You're talking about UFOs?
No, just beings other than UFOs, spirits other than UFOs, things other than UFOs. And then, of course, I've had tons of UFO experiences. I had my first UFO experience. If you want to talk about that, we'll go into that a little bit. When I was in my 20s, I started reading professionally at age 18. And I had already had this plethora of psychic and paranormal experiences, so I knew that realm was real. I knew I could rely on this. I knew I could help people with it. I knew 100% that it was absolute, but I did not believe in UFOs. I had seen the interviews on TV. I had read the magazines. I'd read the books. I was like, nope. I ain't buying it. Don't believe in it. No UFOs. Can't deal with it. So I was at this place where, and at the time I was a cager. I wasn't on my bike. I had this old Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser station wagon. God, I loved that thing. It was a hulk of a car, and I loved it. And it was parked across this narrow 2-lane street in this parking lot. When I went out from where I was at, I opened the door and I could see it. And this is in West Texas where I grew up. We're at the tip end of Tornado Alley, and we had hideous, violent weather there all the time. And I come out this building, and this blast of wind hits me in the face, and I look up, and it's overcast. I said, oh, well, here we go. Thunderstorm, possible tornado or whatever. So I better make a run for the car. So I look over at my car, and down in the parking lot, coming down from the clouds above, is this big column of a cloud resting on the parking lot, in the parking lot and by my car. And it's kind of rotating and rolling and swirling and boiling and things. And I'm like, what in God's name? And from within it, these globules of phosphorescent color emerge and then go back into it. And they're like red and yellow and orange and green and blue. And I notice also that around the base of the cloud in the parking lot, there's some debris there, like cups, papers, whatever, which should be rotating and rolling around and bowling around, and they're not moving at all. And I'm like, okay, I'm young, I'm relatively healthy, but I've gone nuts. This is it. I've lost the plot. I've gone crazy. I'm having a hallucination. This just can't be. And then I get this weird, bizarre urge to walk toward the cloud. So I take a few steps toward the street in the parking lot, and the cloud advances toward me. I stop and it stops. I back up and it backs up. And then I take a few more steps toward it. It comes toward me. I stop. It stops. I back up. It backs up. And I go, okay, that's it. I've lost it. I'm nuts. I'm just going to go check myself to the hospital and say, hey, guys. And about this time, the door opens. This guy whacks me in the back. And he's like, oh, man, I'm sorry. What are you doing standing so close to the door? And then without waiting for me to answer, he looks up and he goes, boy, it looks like we're in for a storm. And then he looks across the street and he goes, what in the world is that? And I go, hallelujah, I'm not crazy, because he sees it too. And I said, okay, wait a minute. Watch this. Watch this. So I walk toward the cloud. It moves toward me. I stop. It stops. I back up. It backs up. And I do that 2 or 3 times. I look over at him, and his eyes are kind of bugged out. I go, isn't that the weirdest thing you've ever seen in your life? He looks at me like I'm the weirdest thing he's ever seen in his life. And he's like, bye, I'm out of there. So he leaves, runs off. His car is parked a different way. And I'm like, well, here I am with the cloud again. Now what do I do? So about that time, it goes back up into the clouds above, and they all start passing over. And I'm like, boy, is this weird. So I run to the car, I get in. Now, this town I know literally like the back of my hand, still do today. So I know exactly where I'm at. And as I pull out, it begins to rain. Now, this is not one of those everything's bigger in Texas stories, but listen, in Texas, it can rain. In 20 minutes, it'll flood your yard. Water will be standing in your yard. Streets will be flooded. Underpasses will be flooded in 20 minutes' time. But this rain coming down is unlike anything that I have ever experienced before. It gets to the point that with my headlights on and my wipers on high, I've got no more than a foot of visibility beyond the hood of my car. I mean, a foot beyond the hood of my car is as far as I can see. And the wipers are doing absolutely no good. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to hit somebody. Somebody's going to hit me. There's cars angle parked on the street. I cannot see them out my passenger window. And I'm like, I'm going to scrape them. Something's going to happen. So I'm driving along like this, and this car in front of me stops, and I barely avoid hitting it. The car behind me barely avoids hitting me. We see this little teeny tiny red glow up here, and it's like, oh, the stoplight. So I know the street that I'm on. There was a Sears Roebuck store there on Beauregard Street. The back street was Tuig Street, and they had this big parking lot there in back of the store. And I said, okay, if I can just make it to the back of that store to the parking lot, I'm going to park there. I'm going to get out. I'll get soaked. I don't care, but I'll go in, look at the sporting goods, and when the storm's over, then I'll drive home. So that was my plan. So the light changes, and we're poking around the corner, and like I said, a foot visibility in front of the hood of my car. So I'm trying to watch for this car's bumper reflecting in my headlights and their tail lights, if I can see them, keep from hitting them, keep somebody from hitting me. And I'm still trying to see these cars that are angle parked on the side of the street in the parking spaces. And I'm holding on to my steering wheel. I'm leaning over toward my passenger window, trying to see these cars, which I can't. And about that time, now you got to understand this, Michael, it's raining that hard, and now it's not. It doesn't slack off. It doesn't slow down to a drizzle. It's just 1 second, it's that hard. The next second, there's not even a mist hitting the windshield. It's still overcast, but full visibility is returned. I can see all the way down the street in front of me, all the way back in my rearview mirror, all the way around me. I'm like, what in the world is this?
Yeah.
Well, about this time, in the lane oncoming, the cars start swerving into our lane and almost hitting cars. And people are honking and yelling. People are rolling down their windows, pointing up to the skies. People are jumping out of their cars onto the street and pointing up. And I'm like, what in the world? And I look up, and there over the back of the Sears building, maybe 30 to 50 feet in the air, is a shiny silver metallic object about 30 to 50 feet in diameter, just hovering there over the back of the Sears building. No fire, no smoke, no flame, no nothing, just sitting there. And I'm like, oh my God. And I literally did a cartoon eye rub. I'm like, no, this can't be happening. I don't believe in these things. This can't be it. And I look back up, sure enough, it's there. So I start to grab my car door to get out and look, get a better look as well. And about that time, the UFO just barely perceptibly moves toward us, and the clouds come in from behind really fast and cover it over. And the second that they cover it over, the rain is back instantly in full force like it was before. So I see this guy in front of me, and I'm like, I'm creeping along, kind of following him. He turns into the parking lot, and I'm like, I'm catching this guy. I know what I've seen, but I've still got to have confirmation. And I go into this parking lot. I'm like, I don't care if I hit him, he hits me, somebody else hits me, my insurance will cover it. I got to talk to this guy. So he stops, I stop. We can't even tell if we're in a parking space. He jumps out, I jump out. The rain hurts. It hits so hard. It's so bad. I'm shielding my eyes. I'm running. We get to the back of the Sears store, go in. There's this vestibule where you have an airlock. It's like you stand there and there's a place to wipe your feet on the big mat, and then two doors that go into the store and then down to the basement to the sporting goods. So he's standing there. I remember he wore glasses. I didn't at the time, and his glasses were beaded with water. He's dripping water. I'm dripping water. We look like we just got out of the shower. And he's just standing there with his head facing down, just staring at the mat. And I walked around in front of him, and it took a little bit before he realized I was there. And he looked up, and I said, "Excuse me, man, but did you see what I just saw?" And he looked at me and he said, "Yeah, but I damn sure ain't going to tell nobody." And he sidestepped me and went off through the store. And back then, you just didn't talk about ghosts or UFOs or psychic or paranormal or anything else, because people said you were crazy, you were nuts, you could lose your job, all kinds of things. So he didn't even want to acknowledge it beyond that. And so that was my first encounter with a UFO, and I had to switch religions because it's like, holy cow, they're real. Here they are. And then I've had several encounters since then.
Well, so what do you think that they are? Do you think there's some people that think that they're fallen angels? Some people think that they're, time travelers or some kind of synthetic AI.
I think that they're just extraterrestrial beings, physical extraterrestrial beings. I mean, our government's admitted in the UFO report that they are physical objects. And that's what I've always thought they were. Now, where they come from, what their intent is, what their purpose is, I don't know. You don't know. I don't think any of the big name researchers know. We just don't have those answers yet. There's nothing to hang our hats on. Now, I believe within the bowels of our government, there are people that absolutely know what's going on beyond a shadow of a doubt. And they haven't brought that out yet. And why they haven't brought that out, that's the question we have to get to and what we have to find out.
Well, it's about money and control is what that's about.
It's about money and control. And we have to, there was a podcast I was on. Some of the people that do that podcast, they do a deal called the Big Phone Home after ET Phone Home. And on this second one, the latest one, they had a congressman from Tennessee on there. And he said basically he thought that the public release of this little UFO document was kind of a mistake by the government, and that it kind of opened up a chink in the armor. And he said, if we, the people, will press that as hard as we can right now, we can get some results. But he said, if we don't press as hard as we can, they're going to close that chink in the armor up, and that's it. Our chance is gone, and they're not going to reveal anything. And he talked a lot about what he said that he believed they were extraterrestrial. Now, this is the congressman speaking. And he talked about the difficulty in getting past the political agenda for all of this. And one of the examples he gave was, he said there was a stereotypical cigar in one hand, glass of bourbon in the other, good old boy that said, I call the shots and I make the decisions here. and congressmen come and go, but I'll be here long after they've come and gone. And he said, all these years later, congressmen have come and gone, and that old guy's still there calling the shots. And he said, that's what it's really all about. So this is what we have to begin to understand. And that's how we have to begin to approach things, so that we realize what's really going on. And we don't wait on the powers that be to reveal something to us. We become the powers that be, and we demand it. We take it. We get that revelation that we need.
What's the name of that podcast you listen to? You can plug it here.
It was The Real Phone Home. You can find it on YouTube. The Real Phone Home 1, The Real Phone Home 2. And it's the congressman was really, really enlightening. I didn't say everything that he said on there, and it was really amazing to hear. And he said that another thing he said that, you know, the fact is that you're digging into people's power and money and influence, and that'll get you suicide by 2 shots in the back of the head.
Yeah, or they'll hanging from a doorknob, right?
Exactly.
The doorknob thing, that's kind of a giveaway, I think, at this point.
I think so. It should be. It's like we should all be going, what?
I don't know. There's, I'm sure everybody, I mean, everybody's human. We all have ideas. And I think I've never had that one run through my mind as a way to take care of myself. Probably.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not even on the list.
Not even close. Yeah, not even close.
Right. Like, really? That works?
Yeah, I know. It's like a doorknob. I can hang myself from a doorknob. Okay.
Let me ask you this. You're a psychic. You see ghosts and that sort of thing. You've never seen an alien ghost or had any encounter with something off world? What about
not that I know of, other than seeing the craft. I've seen several craft, and I have offered to interact with these critters, but so far there has not been anything reciprocated. And one really interesting experience I had, I've always loved to sit outside at night and watch the stars, and I'm sitting there and I see this orange orb, this glowing orange orb, come around me in the sky from over here to my right, and I'm watching this thing come around the sky, and it's real close. It's like we lived near a small airport at the time, and it's down low, like where the little planes would fly when they were coming into land and stuff. And I'm looking at this thing. There's no lights blinking. There's no landing lights. There's nothing. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a UFO. And it comes around in front of me, and I'm watching this thing. And I stood up out of my chair, and I said, out loud and psychically, I said, if you can hear me, stop and reverse course. And this thing stopped in the sky, reversed course slightly, and then in a split second time, shot up to where the big airliners would be in the night sky. And then in less than a split second time, shot up to where the stars are. And then wandered around there, kind of moved around a little bit, and then shot off into the universe. And, again, no sonic boom, no sound, no smoke, no plane, no nothing. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I don't know whose it is, what it is, but anything that can do that and absolutely destroy the known laws of physics, we got some problems here, folks, whether it's yours, ours, theirs, or whatever. That's kind of some scary stuff.
All right. Why don't you tell me about, you have a significance of February, March, and April of this year. Is that 2021 or next year?
That was in the past. Yeah, there were some things coming that were kind of setting up the year for the rest of the year, if you connected with that and took advantage of it. And we're past that, obviously. But with 2022 coming, I do have some hope there for 2022. I think that enough people are going to kind of wake up a little bit. We're going to kind of get back on track here some. And I think the more of us that will share this message, that will work together and all this thing. Oh, I love that. Abraham Lincoln assassination. He knows anything about that? Yeah, I did TV pilot for the History Channel investigating Lincoln's assassination. So,
Was he really a vampire hunter?
I don't think so.
You never know, right?
Well, you never know. You never know. But at this point, I wouldn't make book on it.
Oh no, that would be fun though, right? So
It
what
would be,
about
wouldn't it?
what about Abraham Lincoln? I mean, would you find anything interesting about that?
Oh, a ton. I was contacted by one of the largest media companies in New York, in Manhattan, when we lived up in New York, to shoot a TV pilot for the History Channel, and it was just amazing because we got because it was this media company and because it was the History Channel, we had carte blanche to go into Ford's Theater, the Peterson House, the Mud House, all these places that would normally be denied to paranormal investigators because a lot of these people had people come in the past and act so stupid and silly and ridiculous that they were like, that's it, no psychics, no paranormal investigators, nobody ever again, period, end of discussion. And so because we had the cachet of this media company and the History Channel, and they were assuring them that, hey, we vetted this guy, he's the real deal, he's not going to come in and do something stupid, he's not going to embarrass you, that they opened up to us. And so I got to go into all of these historic places, and the only people there were the docents, me, and the film crew. No tourists, nobody else. We had the place to ourselves. So we went to Ford's Theater. We went to Peterson House, where he was taken after he was assassinated, where he died. We went to the Mud House, where John Wilkes Booth stopped for, his broken leg, and so on and so forth. And the energy from these places was absolutely incredible. What people don't understand is you can change furniture, you can repaint, you can remodel, you can do whatever you want to, but the energy from the event that happened there is still there, and you can still discern that, and you can still interact with that and still see that. And one of the great things was that I was able to pick up on some things that mainline history had said happened one way, and I said, no, that's not right. And we were able to prove the accepted history wrong. And one example of that is they have a museum where they have artifacts of the assassination, and one of the things, there was a door, and they said that there was a hole drilled in the door to the presidential box, and that Booth drilled that hole so we could look in and see where Lincoln was seated and all that and be ready to burst in and shoot him. And I looked at that, and my gift kicked in, and I said, no. I said, Booth did not drill this hole. Booth had this hole drilled by someone who worked in the theater that wouldn't arouse suspicion by being there. And sure enough, we had access, naturally being who it was, the History Channel, this big media company. We had access to all these Lincoln experts, and we researched all this stuff, and sure enough, we found out Booth didn't drill the hole. It was drilled by a carpenter in the theater at the instruction of the theater owner under the auspices, supposedly, of Lincoln's bodyguard, so he could look in and keep an eye on Lincoln, which also raises the question, where the hell was Lincoln's bodyguard while Booth was there peeking through the hole and bursting in and shooting Lincoln? Was he in on it too? So that was one of the amazing things I found out. And then we had wonderful paranormal manifestations happen on camera that we caught on camera. It was really great. It was really fantastic. But one of the things I picked up about Lincoln was that when Booth burst through to shoot him, Lincoln had a ton of premonition. And I firmly believe he had a premonition of his own death. And when Booth burst through to shoot Lincoln, it was like Lincoln was like, oh, here it is. And I think that he knew right that moment what was happening. And the amazing thing with Lincoln was there was absolutely no fear. There was rage at Booth for his cowardly action, but Lincoln was never afraid. And in picking up on that, subsequently doing my own research, I found out that Lincoln had over 10,000 death threats in his day. And for this guy to keep going and keep acting like he did, he had to have balls of steel, man.
I'm sure.
You don't do that unless you're a really gutsy guy. So that confirmed for me that like Lincoln he wasn't afraid. He didn't have any fear of anything. And when he was shot, he lingered during the night over at the Peterson house till he died the following morning. And my feeling was he was outside the body, kind of looking at himself and kind of assessing the situation and like, okay, well, here it is, my time to go. And he did. And it was a very strong and dignified thing. It was a really neat thing to experience.
Vash wants to know, is the energy attached to the location or the building?
Both.
Okay.
And more. There are spirits that come and go. There are spirits that return. There are imprints of energy in the place. There is energy attached to the building itself. If you were to tear that building down, there's energy attached to the location. So it's all of the above and then some.
All right. So let me give a shout out to Spartan O Negative for the super chat. Really do appreciate it. So are you ready? Should we open up these phone lines and get some calls coming in? I'm sure, man. It's open lines like the old Art Bell days. So no promises. Everybody will behave. So if anybody wants to call, well, there it is.
There it is.
Welcome to Conflict Radio. How you doing? You're on the air. Who are you and where are you calling from?
Hi, I am Nico White. I'm calling from Georgia.
All right. You're going to have to speak up just a little bit.
Okay, I'm calling from Georgia. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just speak up a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm calling from Georgia. Mr. John Russell, thank you for your experience sharing it with us. It's a really great experience, awesome experience.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for calling in.
Oh, man. I've been listening to you all since I was a little boy. Conflict Radio. And my grandmother used to have the radio playing in her bedroom. I could hear it in the distance. So as I grew up, I'm 46 years old now. And so tonight I'm just so happy to catch you guys on live. I have a question. I had experienced some things in my life, and I didn't have nobody to talk to. But as you guys said, talk to people about these things.
All right, I'm gonna have to bust in here. You got to speak up just a little bit louder, man.
Okay. Yeah, he's breaking up too.
Yeah.
Hold on. Is that a little bit better?
No, that's worse.
Hold on. We gotta get this right.
Yeah, he's breaking up really bad.
Well, he just hung up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hear he's calling back in again. Hello, you trying now?
Okay, is this better?
Not really. I mean, just try to speak up.
Okay, hold on.
That's good there. Yeah, that's.
If you got a question, just give it quick.
Yeah, just ask your question.
Okay. I was at a apartment complex in Maryland, and I was seeing these clouds coming up from the ground, and I didn't know what they were. I went home afterwards, and I jumped in the tub, and something heavy was on me. And I also walked into a couple of places, and I would tell people that someone died there. And people would come up to me and tell me that their child died there, or their son died there. Or people would run out of the houses saying that, how did you know someone committed suicide in the house? What is that?
Well, that's just a psychic knowing. That's just an ability to pick up on what happened there and to discern what happened. So that's something that, to the degree that you have it, that can be trained. You can work with that and, see how far it'll take you. Everybody has a different plateau with it, but that's just the ability to connect with that energy, to connect with the other side and discern what's happened.
Okay. Yes, and I had a vision in 2001 around 9/11 in D.C. And I saw a lot of people walking and protesting and coming to the Capitol. This is in 2001. And I had a couple of people that were there with me when I had this vision. And they reached out to me this past year when all of this happened with the pandemic. And they were saying that the things that I was saying then was what I said that time. So it was like 10 years ahead What is it? Is that astral projection?
No, it's just precognition. It's just precognition. You see what's going to happen, and so that's part of that gift that you need to get serious about and train and work with and see what you can do with it.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate the
You're
show
welcome.
tonight, you guys. Thank you.
All right, man.
All right, thanks for calling.
Have a good night. All right. All right, guys. So the phone line is open, 256-850-4513. I'll get to here we go. Conflict Radio, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, I'm just nobody. I'm not anybody special or anybody in particular.
All right.
What's up, man? No, this is the Happy Plague Doctor calling from the happy sandhills of Nebraska.
How you doing, Happy?
Good. How's my audio? I don't know. 'Cause I have no volume.
You're fine.
Okay. I didn't know if there was just problems tonight. Man, I was gonna ask dude about like ghost trains and stuff like that. Like, there seems to, if he knew anything about like stuff like that, like you always heard about like ghost riders and ghost trains. I wonder if there's like ghost motorcycles or.
As a matter of fact, yeah, you do hear about ghost trains, you hear about ghost ships, ghost planes, all types of things. And as a matter of fact, ghost motorcycles, and this is in my book, Riding with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead. I was, after we had a big, huge tropical storm here in Florida, I had cabin fever and I had to get out. So I got out and I rode and I was looking at a lot of the damage that the storm had done and so on and so forth. And coming back home, there were some really bizarre paranormal manifestations that happened in the clouds, and you can read it in the book. And but anyways, while I'm looking at that, I'm deciding, okay, do I ride straight ahead or do I turn off and go this other way? So this biker comes up in the left lane beside me, and we bikers usually always wave to each other, say hi, whatever. But he looks over at me and he's got a really kind of funny gaze, a really intense gaze. And he smiles and he's looking at me and he waves and I wave at him. And it's like, it just feels weird. It just feels strange. And so he gets into the left turn lane to go this way that I'm thinking about going, rather than going into this weird paranormal activity in the clouds up here. And so I have a few seconds to make up my mind what I'm going to do, go straight or turn and get into the left lane and follow this guy. And my instinct, my psychic instinct says, okay, follow this guy. And so he gets in the left turn lane, makes the turn. I scoot over into the left turn lane. It's just a few seconds till I can turn after him. Now, the road we turn on to is flat and straight forever with no place to turn off, no parking lots to go into or anything like that. And after he turns, I'm in the left turn lane waiting to turn. The car goes by, I turn, and he has vanished. And it would have taken somebody riding a light speed UFO to have vanished on that road. And I'm like, holy cow. Okay, he came. This was a ghost biker just come to say, hey, dude, follow me. You don't want to go that way. Come this way. And I got that intuitive message, and I followed him. And I went home with blue skies, sunshine, no problems. But, yeah, there's ghost bikers, too.
So did his motorcycle make, like, regular motorcycle noises then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was absolutely physically solid. So was his bike. Normal bike sounds, everything else. And then turned the corner and vanished.
Huh. That's interesting. Well, I was just kind of curious, how, I guess something you would consider a non-living entity like a motorcycle, or did I leave the chat?
No, you're here.
No, you're
we
here.
got you.
Oh, okay. Well, like a train. How does a train become a ghost, or how does a motorcycle become ghost motorcycle, or how do whatever, a horse?
That's a good question. Is it being manifested by the engineer or the rider?
Well, I think it's manifested by the other side, and these things happen. And again, they leave imprints in the atmosphere for us to see, kind of like a replay, kind of like a movie or a video replay. And then I think some of these things actually have some intelligence or purpose or being, and they're somehow intellectually manifested or controlled. And there's a a lot of different things that like the ghost ships on the sea that replay from year to year, and people cite them periodically and things. And so there's a whole rich genre of these manifestations and of these sightings, and there's a lot of different things that can be ascribed to them, and we have to kind of take each one step by step and say, okay, what does this particular one mean? What does that particular one mean? But the main thing is, look, the other side is communicating to us in very real ways, whether it's the manifestation of a replay of a movie, so to speak, in the environment, the atmosphere, the energy left there, or a literal real-time something happening, like with me with the ghost motorcycle, and those types of things. So it's always
Otherwise,
Go
all
ahead.
the ghosts would be naked, I guess.
Yeah, that's
I've
true.
never seen a naked ghost. I've always seen ghosts in clothes.
It's true, and they're always they're obviously manifesting their clothes. So why couldn't they manifest a train or a motorcycle?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't you manifest, like, I don't know. If I was a ghost, I'd manifest all kinds of stuff.
So would I, man. So would I. All right,
Well,
I
this
want to
is
be
going off the rails.
ridiculous ghost. All right, man. I'll let you guys go. Get on to somebody else who wants a psychic reading or like validation or something.
All right, Happy.
Thanks for calling, man. Thanks for calling.
Bye bye. All right. Let's see. Who else is coming in? Vash, you tried getting through a little while ago. I see. Let's see. I don't have that Spite Fairy. I suppose if you want to call in, we could try to do something like that. All right, here's Vash. Vash, how you doing? Welcome to Conflict Radio. How you doing?
Hey, I'm very good, Michael. And how are you going, John?
I'm doing good. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you very much for letting me call in, and also thank you for the wonderful insights that you've given us so far into just some of your experiences and thoughts on things. I've got two potentially. Sorry, my apologies, a bit of a lag. I've got two questions for you, potentially three if there's enough time, but we'll see how we go. Probably the biggest pressing one that I can think of at the moment that I have is that recently I had a dream, and I dreamt of a family member that passed away quite a while ago, and I saw them in a much more younger form, and I engaged them, and I tried to ask them one question. And normally in any dream circumstance, when I try and ask questions and I'm quite consciously aware of where I am and what's happening, I get no response, and just blank look or whatever. It's like as if you're asking someone that isn't there. But in this particular instance, I received a very strong reply, and it shocked me that, number one, I got the reply, but also the delivery of that reply. So I guess my question would be, was that actually a family member that I spoke with?
Yeah, absolutely. And what you have to do is take that reply at face value and appreciate that communication, that connection that you got.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
All right.
Second question I had was, I'd probably say within the last maybe couple of months, I've had a feeling where that's best described as when you're driving in the car, you stop at a set of lights and you look over to your left or your right and you notice the person in the car is looking at you, and then you both look away. But except in this particular case, I'm alone, I'm in various locations, and I'm looking around, there's no one there, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched.
Sure.
That's Big Brother, man.
Yeah, well, no, they're on my phone. At least I can turn them off.
Yeah, really. Well, you are being watched. We're all being watched because the spiritual realm is all around us all the time, just like radio waves are. You know, radio waves are constantly traveling through our house, our bodies, our atmosphere. If we tune into the right wave, we get rock music. We tune into a different wave, we get country music, whatever. And so there are all these spirit beings, all these intelligences, all these things constantly around us. And so we are being watched all the time. We are being interacted with all the time. And it's incumbent upon us to tune into those experiences and into those beings and make that contact. And just real quick, I have to interject here. Somebody asked me what I thought about Sasquatch. Yeah, I absolutely believe Sasquatch is real, no doubt.
Should I be concerned at all about that?
Oh no, it's just what we all go through, and you're just experiencing the energy of being aware of these beings watching you. So, interact with them, tell them they're there, say, hey, guide me, protect me, watch over me. What do you have to give me as far as advice or guidance or whatever? And don't fear it, embrace it.
I definitely don't. Yeah, it's weird. I don't feel like there's a fear aspect. It's just more a case. It's always, if I catch something or if I feel like I caught something, it's always in peripheral vision. So that's why it's it's different, and it's just recent. So recently moved house.
Sure.
I'm like, I know it's not anything wrong with the house because it's like a new house. So
yeah, no, you're fine. You're all right.
Yeah,
just allow them to that communication with you.
Easy. All right. Well, look, thank you so much. I'll let someone call in.
Well, you have a third question, Vash? You can ask.
Oh, I do. Okay.
Go for it, man.
Let's go.
Don't know if you can answer this one. So I've only ever had what I feel like is one ghost-based experience, and it happened when I was a kid. And I remember just waking up to the sound of what sounded like crinkly newspaper, because when you have newspaper on the floor and you walk over it, it makes a particular kind of crinkly sound. And I remember I had that at the end of my bed on the floor. So I wake up to that and I see a figure at the end of my bed, pitch black, and then slowly start walking towards the door and just fade. Now, when I saw this, it just took the breath right out of me, to the point where I couldn't move. It's like, so I guess I'm curious to know if it's even possible for you to let me know. Was it actually a shadow person, or was it actually a ghost?
Well, it was a spirit guide there. We have this thing, shadow people. And I don't think there's really that big a genre of things called shadow people. There may be some out there, but I mean, most of the interactions we have are interactions with intelligent beings that have some purpose in coming to interact with us. And it's not freaky or scary or spooky or negative or demonic or whatever. And that's what we have to get over. And I think that a lot of times they have different ways of interacting with us to try and communicate different things. And a lot of times when you see a spirit doing something or interacting with you in a certain way, what does that way mean to you? In other words, we're our own best dream interpreter, because our subconscious on the other side speaks to us in dream language, dream symbols that are specific to us that we will understand and make sense of. So in other words, if I dream of a woman in red high heels, that's sexy as hell to me. If a waitress dreams of red high heels, that's torture for her. I mean, she's on her feet 8 hours a day and her feet hurt. That's a torture device. So two entirely different meanings. So we're our own best dream interpreters, and we're our own best interpreters when it comes to interacting with the other side by asking the other side, hey, what are you communicating to me here? are musing over what they've shown us or told us and going, what does that mean to me? What does that convey to me? What do I need to learn from that? Make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I'm just not sure. Like, I understand what you're trying to say, but I suppose the only thing I really had from that experience was just shock, and obviously just seeing what I saw. Well, and the hard part
it opened you up to the other side.
I'd like to think so in some way. I've always been interested in it.
And now you have to communicate with that and say, okay, what's your ongoing message for me in that?
Okay, so my question then is, how do you know it's not, for example, a demon entity that you're communicating with?
Lord, because look, everybody's got a demon or demonic, or there's a demon behind every bush or whatever. That's not the case. You know, what we do, we default to demonic because what were we raised? We were raised, the majority of us, Christian with the Bible, and the Bible is full of paranormal stories, but it's full of biblically sanctioned paranormal stories. And anything that falls outside of that is then deemed demonic, satanic, evil, dangerous, whatever. That's how we're raised. And so that's what we default to. And what we have to do is get past all the myth, the ritual, the dogma, the tradition, and get on the path of truth. And when we do that, then we get past the default thing of, I had a paranormal experience, it must have been a demon. Then we get rid of that. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I understand completely.
There you go.
I'm just thinking, like, is there any kind of advice that you can give to be able to identify or acknowledge that maybe it is or it isn't? Because if they're tricking you, then I don't know.
Well, if they're tricking you, then we're stuck anyways, aren't we? Because if something is way advanced above us and beyond, us and able to trick us, then we're stuck anyways. So, you have to, why does everything have to be a demon? Amen. Look at where things lead you and exercise common sense and reason. That's the best time.
Perfect and great advice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling in.
Talking to you, John.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Vash, have a great night.
You too, Michael. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, Spartan, for the super chat. Really do appreciate it, man. Michelle O'Rourke, that's an interesting story. I would love for you to call in and share that with us a little bit deeper. The line is open, guys. 256-850-4513. I guess we've got a few minutes left. John, you mind if we went a little over?
Let's go.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we got 7 minutes left, but we'll probably go over if you guys are calling in. So the line is open if anybody wants to give a call. So let's see. Sapphire Elf, how you doing, man?
Yeah, good, dude. Hey.
Welcome to Conflict Radio. I'm trying to get your picture up here. Here, let me get this up on the screen. Try to figure out how to do this.
Thanks for joining the show, John. It's pretty refreshing to have someone that's got their own insights into the psychic spiritual worlds rather than.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Rather than just following all the books that everyone else goes by,
Now, there you go. That's been my mission since I was a kid. Since the age of 12, I was like, there's a bunch of phonies, frauds, con artists, dogma, tradition, ritual out there. Well, let's get past all that, find out what the truth is, and then let's try and discern that, and then let's let the truth destroy our rituals, traditions, myths, and dogma, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so I could kind of go two ways with my questions. I sent a picture in if Mike could find it.
Yeah, it's up, John.
It's gorgeous.
John, can you see it?
I do. It's beautiful.
Okay, so I actually found that as it was on my walking trail on my family property. The holes for the eyes fit my face, and they were falling out in knots. And it's a scale of iron barkwood. I haven't carved it, but I got some beads and some native stuff hanging off it and that, and I call it Twig, and it's my forest spirit that was given to me. I was just wondering
Oh,
if you can get
absolutely.
anything
He's
from it.
beautiful.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you can get anything from it, like good or bad, or just an open-ended
No,
sort of
it's
question.
good. It's good. It's very protective, and communicate with it, appreciate it, value it, communicate with it, and the guidance or the energy that it will give you is very subtle. So spend some time in meditation, communication with it. It's almost, and I don't want to denigrate it this way, and I'm not going to say that it is this, but it's almost like a pet. It's almost like a little dog that comes to you and says, "I'm trying to tell you this. Listen to me." So it's almost like that. It's a very benevolent, very beautiful being, a very beautiful spirit, and value it. Take care of it, communicate with it, and let it communicate with you. But ask it for guidance, and then sit and get still and listen, and it will definitely communicate with you. It's a beautiful, beautiful spirit, beautiful thing.
Hey, Sapphire.
Yeah.
Blue Chicken
Okay,
says
thank
its bark is worse than its bite.
I love it. That's great. Yeah. But yeah, it's like my
It's
little.
great.
It's like
It's
my little
absolutely
forest.
great. You got
Yeah,
you got a real treasure there, my friend.
Yeah, it's like my little forest spirit. And when I set up my
It is.
van
It
life
absolutely
van
is.
in the woods, so I'd hang him inside my front window looking out, and he wards off all the bad stuff.
You need to hang him inside, looking in, and communicate with him.
Yeah, he goes both ways. Yeah, depending what I need
Yeah.
him for. He's kind of like a jack of all trades, little trickster elf thingy.
All right, man. Do you have any
All right,
other
thanks for that.
any
Yeah,
other
that's great.
questions?
Well, I could just tell a quick story about like a real physical ghost that I saw that's pretty close to me.
All right, go for it, man.
So after my father died when I was about 13, he had like a workshop up the top of the driveway. And you'd always just see him walking up there in his track pants, ready to go paint a sign or something. But for about, probably about 2 or 3 years, everyone in the family at some point would be sitting in the kitchen and all of a sudden run out the door and run up the shed and come back. And we'd ask what it is, and someone would actually see him. And it happened to all of us. Never at the same time, but it was like he was actually physically there to the point where you'd run up and check. And I was just wondering, was that like his spirit, or was that like an echo of his memory, or us projecting it?
That was his spirit coming back to communicate.
Okay, yeah. And I just wonder, is it like a habit of the spirit that he kind of just walks out?
Well, look, when you go to the other side, you retain your memory, your personality, so on and so forth. And besides doing what you have to do on the other side, I mean, our life lessons go on as far as we can tell, and so on and so forth. But you're going to decide, hey, I'm going to hang around here for this reason or that reason. I'm going to do this, do that, manifest this, manifest that. So, we all have our reason for what we do on the other side.
Yeah, but I just found it kind of weird that he never tried to like directly appear before us, but we'd see him just doing his normal thing.
Right.
Just like it was normal. And yeah.
And that may be because you were not able to discern or perceive that direct appearance in front of you. Maybe that was the only way he could manifest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, Sapphire. Thanks for
the ghost story. Yeah.
Sapphire. Thanks for calling in, man.
All right, thanks, Mike, and thanks, John.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right, man. Enjoy that life down under there.
And come back on the show again sometime, John. You've been a great guest.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we will definitely try to get him back on. All right, Sapphire. We'll talk to you later, man. I'm gonna hang up. I'm gonna try to get this line open for Michelle, if she can call in. Go ahead and call in now, Michelle. The number is 256-850-4513. Bash, thanks so much for the super chat, man. Really do appreciate it, man. That's awesome, man. What a great night for super chats it's been. You guys keeping me afloat here. Well, John, I want to tell you a story. I guess if somebody calls, I'll put you on hold for a second. But I want to talk to you about this because we're hearing a lot about dreams and things, and I've been dreaming a lot lately here of friends and family that have recently passed. And
Right.
it sort of bothers me a little bit. My mother died almost 35 years ago when I was a little
Mhm.
boy. And I was kind of thinking about it when you were talking about how you see a ghost naked, how they're always around us. And I remember being a little boy, like, oh my gosh, like my mother's gonna see me naked now. Like when I'm changing, I need to hurry up and change. I need to, you know,
Right,
I need to
right,
watch out because my mother's watching everything that I'm doing. I need to be careful. It took a little bit to get over as a kid, but
right.
I've never, not one time, not once, have I ever dreamt of my mother. It's like she's just completely gone. She's gone.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I've always
yeah.
had signs or things from other people that have passed on. You know, a friend of mine was, you know, probably my best friend was dying of cancer a few years ago, and we had a deal set up. We played chess all the time. That I would leave the board set up on my desk right here, and we would play chess. You know, I would make a move or whatever, and then he would move, and I came out one day and the whole board was flipped onto the floor. Like I
There
guess
you go.
you know, he's just like, I don't want to play. But I've never had any kind of sign, dream, anything of my mother. Is it possible that
Yeah.
she's just gone?
You know, we don't have the complete understanding that we want and need about communication from the other side. And there are people that we have loved and love us that go to the other side, and yet we don't get that communication that we desire from them, and we don't know why. I don't think your mother is just gone. I think your mother has, what I perceive is that she has gone into some very deep teaching, some further education for her on the other side that's kind of taken her out there a little bit, taken her out there a ways, and that at some point she's going to be able to bring that information that she's got back to you and give you some type of sign and give you some type of communication.
Yeah, see, I guess I've always wondered because everybody that I've talked to in I'm gonna put this call on hold here. All right, thanks for calling Conflict Radio. Just hang on a second. Everybody I've talked to and stuff has died naturally, where my mother actually killed herself. So I think
Yeah.
that's maybe why I'm concerned. And you know, is it
Yeah,
possible
well,
that
she, you know, she
she's
works
gone
through
somewhere
those
else? Right?
issues on the other side. She works through those issues on the other side and goes into what she needs to. And she has to make sure that when she does choose to come back to you, that you're not going to have any accusation or condemnation of anything there, but that you're just going to be accepting of, okay, this is what I felt like I had to do, and this is what I did, right or wrong. And, you know, now know that I love you and that I want to give you this love and communication from the other side. So, you know, just hang in there with it.
So it's like she's holding out because she's afraid I'd yell at her.
Well, kind of afraid of rejection or you know, condemnation, accusation.
Maybe she's ashamed.
Well, not really ashamed. I mean, she did what she did, and she felt like that was her path. She felt like that was her only choice at the time. And we can't understand that. We can't see that because we're always saying, well, there's always another way out, or there's always something positive. There's always something we can do. And that was not her mindset. She didn't see it that way. And so she needs you to understand, hey, I did what I felt like I had to do.
All right. So let's get to the caller. You're live on Conflict Radio. Thanks for hanging on there a second. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Sure, thanks. My name is Ellie, and I'm calling from Ohio.
How you doing, Ellie?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for taking my call. So since we're on the topic of dreams, my question is, I have a lot of dreams that end up coming true, and they're very oddly specific.
Right.
Most of them deal with the fact that I used to flip houses. So my question is, this last series of dreams on the last house I flipped, I kept having like these nightmares about, and it's gonna sound crazy, I know, but it like had to deal with like dead bodies being in the ground and things like that. And because I was trying at this time to buy the property that was behind this house, but the guy would not let me purchase it. And so I kept having these dreams like there was things in the ground, and it all was directed towards the house next to me, which was what he owned, and he owned the property behind me. What do you think that meant?
All right, Ellie, if you could turn down the, you have to mute the show in the background there.
Oh, I actually don't have it on.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead, John.
Let me go upstairs and maybe that'll help.
Yeah, I think it's like a literal revelation to you. And I think it's also a warning to kind of not dig into things or press or push toward things that you shouldn't. And that you have to recognize that there are certain things that are kind of off limits or whatever. But I feel like that the situation is literal there, that there may be bodies there. Look, there's bodies all over the world. You know, we think, oh, we built a new house on a new lot. No, there's probably a body buried underneath there. Well, I built a brand new house. How could it be haunted? Well, the world's been around all these hundreds of thousands, millions of years or whatever. There's been people all over it. People come and go. People die. People have passed through areas. Yeah, but it was forest. It was pristine. We cut down the trees. Guess what? Go to any area where there's been a settlement that's gone. The forestry claims that you'll never know that anybody was there. So there are always entities, spirits, people, bodies, whatever. And I think that's probably kind of a literal warning or bit of information in this scenario, and just kind of pass it by, go on, do something better.
Yeah, you know what? That sounds good, because that last house was such a nightmare that I haven't done one since. Because I ended up hiring these. Well, I should have known, because I won't say too much about it. But anyways, they ended up stealing my money, and there was a nightmare going on. So that makes sense.
Right,
I do have one more question, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
Okay, so I don't know if this is something you can answer, but the other thing about me is that I'm able to like block things out. Like I'll have something traumatic happen to me, and I'm able to block it out pretty well. My question being is that I'm just curious if I've ever been abducted.
I don't feel like you have. I feel like you would remember it, even though you can block things out pretty well. And I think that in the process of blocking things out, you block out too many things. You need to open up more and experience more of your emotions and more of situations and things that come through to you, and work through those things. Because by blocking them out, you're kind of delaying them, you're not solving them. And what you need to do is open up to them, solve them, and then get rid of them, and then move on.
Okay, that makes sense.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You got it.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for calling in.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye now. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for us. I'm gonna close out Skype, and I'm gonna let John get out of here, and we're gonna try to get him rescheduled to come on again, maybe around the holiday time as we get into Christmas and stuff, because that's always a good time to talk if you have something.
I have to tell you, I'm taking all of November and all of December off. I've done like way over a podcast a week this year, and we're not even through the year. And so November, December, I'm doing friends and family and the holidays, and then I'm coming back in January for podcast again, but I'll be more than happy to return then.
All right. So January, February it is. And why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Look at johnrussell.net, and that's if you want to schedule a reading. I always take new clients. If you want information on my books, they're available at Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Target, and Walmart online. Every major bookseller online that sells books. If you want to know more about the books, and then also links to buy them, you can go to writingwithghosts.net or aknockintheattic.net.
All right. And just so everybody knows, all of the links are in the description box below. John, we have a question that we ask every guest, and you're no exception, so here goes. You ready?
I'm ready.
Do you know who Corn Pop is?
That's Biden's buddy, right?
I think. Do you know who he is?
No, I don't.
He's a bad dude.
He's a bad dude. Like bad Leroy Brown, right?
Yeah, you got it, man. It sounded like you kind of knew who he was, so we asked every guest that question, and it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
All right, hang on a minute. I'm going to wrap this up. So just so everybody knows, you can always find us online. Just go to www.conflictradio.net. You can find us on Spreaker, YouTube, and all of your normal podcast catchers, including Apple iTunes. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. And if you want to be notified when we're live, you got to hit that notification button or that bell. I guess it's a bell or something. I think YouTube only gives out. You're only going to get notified if you get the bell. So you got to hit the bell if you want to know when we're live. We will be back on Monday at 7:30 Eastern time. Until then, everyone, batten down the hatches and be safe.